Welcome to another edition of Learn Analytics. It's Hubert here, and today we have a special guest all the way from the East Coast, Shrvank. He currently works as a consultant within data analytics at Slalom, and he has experience in pharmaceutical and public sectors overall. And prior to his consulting experience, he worked as a data scientist at a small R&D research company. Welcome. How are you?
Hey Hubert. Hi everybody. It's great. The weather is perfect. Thank you so much for inviting me here. I'm excited to be part of this podcast and share my experience and my journey in data science and job search techniques. And yeah,
Great.
good to be
Yeah.
here.
No, it's awesome to have you.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
I'm sure a lot of the viewers will learn something new. Maybe you can just talk to us about your how do you get into data and what was your journey like?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, my name is Shravan, and I come from a computer science background, so I did my bachelor's in computer science. And while I was doing computer science, I learned about Java, I learned about Android application, I also learned about computer networks and all kind of variety, right? From the computer networks to data and also big data and all the stuff. But one thing really kept me focused, and one thing which I love the most is the data part. So I had a couple of courses in data mining and business analytics and business intelligence, where I got to experience the data, and I got to experience what data can do and what impacts the data can do. And I was fascinated by that world. That's why I came to US to do masters in information technology and analytics from Rutgers. And the course was pretty much like a business aspect of data, which I wanted to know, because coming from a computer science background, I did not know much about business. I did not know much about, let us say, marketing or sales. Um, and things like that. I wanted to learn more of those, and also coding aspects. So I started learning Python, SQL tools like Tableau and Power BI, and then entered this data world. And then, I practiced a lot of Kaggle data sets. Kaggle is an open source website where they have like wonderful data sets, and many people have already visited the data set and already have worked on the data. So you can get to see the approach of people. So given a data, and you have to get these insights, the path you take, the journey you take, that really matters. That tells you more about how you think and how you approach a problem. So you can learn a lot of those things just by looking at others' work. Read as many as papers as possible. Go on YouTube, and there is this guy called as Ben Willington. Yeah, I think Ben Willington. So he has a TEDx talk on data storytelling. It's an amazing 14 minutes video that inspired me more to be in this field. Yeah, and I'm currently working as a data consultant in Slalom, and the data world is amazing so far.
Yeah, no, I mean, thanks. We could feel your passion for data, and I'm sure a lot of folks who are watching the video either has curiosity about it or they actually work in this field. Like they're always thinking how to get better, right?
Yeah,
In data.
or yeah, they might be just like, what is this data science everybody's talking about? Because people call it as like hottest job of 21st century. How does it actually feels
Mm-hmm.
to be named that way? And in reality, is that so, or
Yeah,
it's just hype?
yeah.
Even I was curious when I was joining this world. I was like, okay, there is a lot of hype, there is a lot of demand, and there is also a lot of supply. To be very frank, a lot of people lot of people want to get into data, and also there are a lot of people already in the data field.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's an interesting field to know, and it's a very curious field. Yeah.
Yeah, we could certainly spend some time there, get your
Mhm.
thoughts on that. I think let's go back into like I guess you're the first guest I brought on that has sort of analytics experience from a consulting
Mhm.
world. So I would really want to hear like what does that really mean, and like how does that sort of like differ from traditional data analytics roles? So
Yeah, sure. So I've worked as a data scientist at a small R&D company, which you mentioned. The company name is Optimal Solutions. I worked in the company for almost 1.5 years, where I worked on agriculture data and also where I worked in fuel data, mostly in terms of like chemical and biological data kind of a field. And it was an interesting opportunity to
mm,
learn about R&D projects. So whatever people have already done, and how can we do it better? How can we already use the resource we already have and build something amazing? It's like we don't need to reinvent the wheel. Everything is already there. How do you build something unique on that? Was a concern. And then I worked there for 1.5 years, and then I came to Slalom. Slalom is a whole different experience than Optimal Solutions.
mm,
Um, Slalom is more like a consulting firm. It's My role is it's all about wearing multiple hats here. The main difference between being an in-house data scientist at Optimal Solution and a consultant in a company like Slalom is here you get to experience multiple clients and industries.
mm,
Depending upon the project requirement and depending upon the client requirement, you play various hats in the same project. For example, in my first project at Slalom, I played as a data management and architecture guy to help our clients understand the current data better and help them to migrate the data from Excel sheet, PDFs, and all kind of formats to a common data lake. And in my current role, I'm working as a BI developer, where I use Power BI, write some macros, Power Queries, and eventually I'll be helping the clients to automate these systems.
mm,
So I'll be playing more like a data analyst or scientist role. So
mm,
yeah, talking about the perks of consulting is if you plan well, you can do like 4 to 5 projects in multiple industry in a year.
mm,
It's a great way to get more experience faster. It's a great way if you're fresh out of college and you don't know what's your niche, you don't know what you exactly want to be, or what industry your skills lies.
mm,
Then it's a great place. You work with multiple industry across the industry, and then you work in multiple roles like data architecture, data engineer, BI developer, data analyst, and then understand what suits you well, and
mm,
then you can focus more on that. But as an in-house data scientist, even that has its own perks. I mean, you work on a product for, let us say, 2 to 3 years, so you get to own that product. For example, if you're working on a product like Facebook, and if you're working on Messenger, let us say adding GIF or something, you get to own that part. That's a matter of pride, right? You worked on the major product.
mm,
So and also since you get to work in the same industry for many years, you get to know ins and outs of the industry. And if you are someone like who wants to stick around and know ins and out of a single business, then I think in-house will be a better choice. And if you're somebody who wants to learn as quickly as possible in less time, then a consulting job would be a good fit.
mm.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, thanks for comparing and contrasting the
yeah.
two different um, type of roles. I mean, it's definitely very interesting, uh,
Mhm.
getting to learn and tackle new projects all the time, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, it's very different. Like in my previous company, as an employee, we already get the projects, so we already know the requirements. We know everything about the project, and then we start working on it. But in the consulting firm, you can actually pitch an idea. For
mm,
example, I'm working with you, and you're my client, and then I finish up my project with you,
mm,
and then if I feel like there is a loophole, if I feel like I can fix something,
mm,
I can actually pitch that as a problem statement and get one more project from you. That
mm,
is in turn like getting a project from you is nothing but creating a revenue for your company.
Mhm.
Slalom or any other consulting firm, you're actually creating the revenue for your company, which is a great thing. So it's a very different. Those two are very different boats. Yeah,
Got it. It sounds like you got more types of being more independent and also
mhm,
having more ownership
yeah,
of meaning that type of that's definitely good. I
mm,
think maybe we could dive a little bit more about like, okay, you being in a role of like consultant on data analytics, right?
mhm.
Maybe there are folks who are interested in that, right? Like what do you think, like, sort of characteristics that helped you, right, like get that role? And
Yeah.
like how would you what type of advice would you, or even how does the interview like type of process, how did you get that job, things along those lines. So yeah.
Yeah, sure. The key thing to get a job or to get an interview, right, is all about networking. So talk to people as much as possible. Um, go to Facebook, go to YouTube. Like in the LinkedIn, go to their website, and then try to connect with as many people as possible and know what you want. It's very important. So when you're talking to a person, exactly knowing what you want is the first thing. It clears out many things. So I remember when I was doing my masters at Rutgers, I used to go to New York and attend random events. I went to Spotify building, I went to Facebook building, I went to all the major companies, and then I listened to speakers. I actually understood how the company is working. The best way to understand the company is whatever webinars, whatever seminars they keep, just go and attend it, and you get to experience what they're doing. So when you experience such a whole thing, then you can actually start to think, okay, is that something which I want to do, or is that something which ultimately what I want to do? In my case, when I went to these events and then attended all the data sessions in Spotify and in many companies, then my vision became more clearer. So I started networking with people, and for Slalom, in a consulting firm, I would say having a customer obsession mindset is a great thing,
Mm,
because you take companies like Amazon or companies like Facebook, client focused and more towards customer centric companies. So you have to have that mindset where your like client comes first and their requirement comes first, and then you have to hit the right nail. Whenever the client gives you requirement, you have to give the solution in a way that they are satisfied, and whatever requirements they had on the page, everything is delivered to them. So having that right mindset is very important, and then understanding tools and technologies and where they are actually used. So knowing Python, SQL, Tableau, Power BI will definitely help you to decode the data, will definitely help you to get insight from the data. But understanding data and business is more important. So I worked in like multiple pharmaceutical companies. Each pharmaceutical company work in a different way. What I want to say is when you switch from industry to industry, they work in a different way. So understanding their business is very important when it comes to like working with the data. So what does the business requirement, like what do they want out from the data is very important. So practice as much as possible, like take as many data sets as possible and try to get more and more insights about that. Yeah, you can work your way around getting an interview just by reaching out to people, attending events, and networking, and apply as much as possible, and just practice around the world of data and try to understand business as much as possible.
no, I really like that
Yeah.
actually, because like to a big piece, right, networking, like that's so important.
Hmm.
A lot of times it's
Yeah,
those
yeah,
conversations, and it could be those small talks that could lead
yeah,
to
exactly.
a job, right? And then the other part, like you talked about the business mindset. Like actually, one of the
Hmm.
recent videos that I've done was actually on business mindset and building that. Like that's one of the things that I think a lot of early professionals in data, data analytics or data analyst roles, they they sort of like I would say emphasize a lot more on the technical abilities, right? But then they
Hmm.
not so much on like building your business mindset and like what does that really mean and what does the
Yeah.
business side of right the decision making of it like I think
Yeah.
like you honed in like perfectly on those things.
Yeah. I mean, data science consists of data analytics and also decision making, right? So to make a decision, you have to understand how the business is running. For example, if you're a guy in New York who wants to catch a cab, and if the data can tell you that if you take the cabs in Avenue, it will cost you more than if you take the cabs in streets, then it's an insight. That is a kind of insight you want to give it to people, you want to give it to customer, that which makes a difference in their lives. Not
Mm,
only it boosts their website, or it boosts their business, that actually creates a value in their life. If somebody tells me that instead of taking a cab in near Penn Station, if you just walk across the street and take a cab there, it will reduce your cab rate by $5. I'm ready to do it, because that is what data is telling, and it's 80% of the time it's right. Yeah.
sure, for sure, yeah, no, helping save money is always good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, maybe we could switch gears. I know you actually write like different types of data articles, right? Maybe
Mhm.
you could tell a little bit more about those, and then I think some of those articles is like helping people like land their first role, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So it was a tough time, right? 2020. And I graduated in December 2019, which was just before Corona hit. And then I was in this huge mad rush of people who are looking for job, and I just wanted to note down everything what I'm doing right, and the things which aren't working. For example, if I'm applying 20 companies per week or per month, and then they are not getting back to me, I want to write it as a bad thing. I want to write it as something negative, and then how can I work on that? How can I get an interview just by applying online? And Sure Shot was talking to people. So when I spoke to people and when I attended events, end of the events, I just asked them, like, hey, oh, so you're a small company, and I see what you exactly are doing, because I attended the event, so I know what they're doing, and I exactly know where I can be of help and where I can fit in. Uh, so attending events is a very important thing. And then data science is a very strong business, and there are a lot of communities around data science which are already there, and which will help you to understand business, hone your skills, and help you grow in this field. So I became a part of 5 to 6 Slack communities, which were very active, and they spoke about hobby projects. They spoke about good articles, good books around data, good books around business analytics, and also they came and just spoke about any job opportunity if they had any, if they had it in their company. And whenever somebody posts about a job opportunity, I just reached out to them and told them that, okay, I'm the same, I'm in this community, I'm in the I'm the same data community as you. So I just want to discuss about this job opportunity. And that guy who posted the job, he was more comfortable in discussing the job with me, because
Mhm,
he already know that I was interested in data. That's why I'm being a part of community.
mhm,
So join these amazing Slack channels. And also, if you have any questions, like okay, I'm getting stuck here, or if you want to ask anybody which are like booming tools. For example, I want to create data warehouse for, let us say, 1 terabyte of data. So which do you think is a good platform to create something like that, and things like that? So you can actually ask in the Slack group, and then they will respond you. They are very interactive. They actually help, and there are a lot of amazing people who are already having experience of 6-7 years of data science experience. who can actually help you in understanding the problem and in understanding the business. So learn as much as possible from others. And the other ways are apply through the regular websites like LinkedIn, Indeed, AngelList, and everything. And I have a solid plan when you apply. I usually suggest my friends to create a Trello board, which is like, what are the things you want to do and what are the things you're already doing, what are the things you already done. So for example, when I was doing my job search, I used to write AWS, Snowflake, let us say C++ is something which I want to learn. And what I'm learning right now is more of Python and machine learning algorithms and statistics. And what I've already learned is SQL. So have a plan, and in the middle column is very important. You have to have something there. You have to have things which are already going on, and practice as much as possible in Lead Code, which is a great website to practice Python and SQL, which will help you to write time optimized and space optimized code.
Got it,
Yeah.
got it. So parts of that definitely have a plan and be organized, right? Very
Yeah.
important in your interview process or even application process.
Yeah.
And some of the other things that I got out of it earlier, I guess it was like really like network. You
Yeah.
don't know where it brings you to, right? I think
Yeah.
that's extremely important. And it definitely worked out for you, and I could see it,
Yeah.
right? I think another thing I want to point out is like, yeah, like you're when you're applying for these roles, like when those hiring managers are looking at you or talking to you, right, they're really trying to see your passion, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Even from this conversation, I could see you're someone who has a lot of passion about data, and we
Yeah.
could right off the bat, like we
Yeah.
know that. And then asking the right questions, right? All those things are like very important. I'm
Yeah.
wondering, maybe you could actually, maybe after this, like we could share some of those groups that you might
Sure. Yeah.
know about and help other folks here too.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I mean, I can definitely share the groups, and also Hubert spoke about the article, right? So I can also share that link, which includes all these techniques, all the Slack groups, and all these techniques like how to maintain and organize a board. And I stress so much upon networking because I got my internship and also this job just by networking.
Mm,
I applied like thousands of jobs and then didn't get a good response out of it. But whenever I spoke to people, like I had a good chance. For example, if you say there is 5% of chance in getting an interview through online application, then there was 15-20% of chance just by talking to somebody,
yeah.
which is a great deal, right? So I always stress upon that. Yeah.
That's great. That's great. Yeah. Maybe for like the remaining, like 5 to 10 minutes, I was thinking of we could talk about like get your thoughts on like the future.
Mhm.
Like especially maybe a hybrid of like how do you see the future of consulting and analytics, and as well as maybe just overall how data science plays out, I guess in some of those different industries you've touched upon or
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I'm actually in the beginning of my career, so let me uh, let me think.
or maybe trends, right? Like
Yeah,
that would be
yeah.
interesting too.
Trends in the data science is ultimately everybody will start working on data. I know people who are software engineers and working with data. I know people who are business analysts and working with data. And it's very important to understand each other's languages. For example, I always take this example. For example, if you go to Germany, then it becomes mandatory to understand German. So similarly, if you're in business world, it will become mandatory to understand data and what it is telling us. Um, so to understand data in the sense, you have to be able to just look at the dashboard or just look at the graphs and tell what's actually happening there, tell a story out of it. For example, if the graph goes down in 2020 and start raising again in 2021, then you can see our business was actually highly impacted by coronavirus, but we are getting back there. So telling this story around the data, it requires a bit of, not exactly like a data science degree or something, a bit of data sense and product sense if
Mm,
you're working on a product.
mm, mm,
So the future I see is everybody will start moving around data. And also when I say data science and data analytics, it's not always about the cool stuff, like the visualization or prediction and things like that. 70 to 80% of the times it's just cleaning the data. The
mm,
data is a mess. You get it from like an open source website, or you collect the data. You have to organize the data a lot. And since the school days, organizing events, organizing things, and even I'm a photographer, so making my picture look very neat.
mm,
Those kind of small things added up, and then that is why I like data science more. Data science is all about organizing whatever you already have, because when the client gives you the data, you can't actually ask for more data. That is it. So
mm,
what do you make out of the data is more important.
mm,
So given a data, how do you clean it? How do you do the outlier detection? How do you do the scatter correction? How do you actually organize the data? How do you make the best use of the data is very important. So organizing the data is very important. Um, like everybody will start focusing on data ultimately. Like they say that data is the fuel. And it fuels the business. That is actually true. And also it goes the other way too. Data scientists and data analytics people, they don't just stick to their business of just coding and creating visualization and creating models. They also will start to understand what does the big business requires.
mm,
For example, if you're building a website and your whole goal is to increase the engagement or reduce the churn rate, so how can I do that? What are my audience emotion? What do they like about the product? What do they don't like about the product? And how we can attain a good rate and keep them using our product and reduce the churn rate. So understanding the business is also important. There is a mapping now, but that mapping becomes more stronger, I would say. Yeah.
mm, mm. No, I think like those are all good points. Like once you got to there, I was pretty much using that, the phrase data literacy. It's like a
Yeah.
lot of over time, right? The more it's not just the data analyst who
Hmm.
interacts with the data. It's not just the data scientist who is building models on the data. It's any decision maker. It could be the product manager. It could be the business analyst. It could be the software
Yeah.
engineer. It's just more folks need to know how to use it and how to grab it, right?
Yeah.
And how to build applications in it. And then I think to the second point, like, yeah, like honestly, data is such, it's been here and it's been growing, and there's more roles and such, right? And its impact in organizations is becoming bigger and bigger and bigger, right?
Hmm.
Like probably a few years ago, now it's like an ongoing thing, right? Like companies hire chief data officers, right, to head their org on that, right? And they're having
Yeah.
their seat at the table for data, and decisions like that for business.
Yeah.
So no, I think all of those things are super insightful. So
Awesome.
yeah,
Yeah.
any I guess, yeah, I usually ask this one too, like if I guess if there's one thing that you would, give a piece of advice to folks who are, they want to get themselves their feet wet into
Sure.
consulting and within analytics and consulting, like what would you say? Like how what's that one piece of advice?
Yeah. Yeah, sure. So one piece of advice would be, um, before actually for example, if you are somebody who is looking for a degree in data science or data analytics, and you want to know whether data is something for me or not, you can just go on Kaggle and pick up a data set and then start looking at it. And if there is something which interests you, and if the data world interests you, and it shouldn't be like you take up the data science for the sake of its hype, and then you end up hating it. You end up like, it's a boring thing, I don't want to clean the data, I don't want to do this and that. So it is important to do as many as data sets before getting into this field of data science. And okay, if you are pretty sure about getting in this field, and then start studying the very basic things, not Python, not SQL. Keep all the tools and languages aside. Start studying statistics. uh, what is standard deviation, what is variance, and start doing linear regression in statistics, not using models, not using computer. Start creating that y is equal to mx plus c line in the book, and then start understanding how everything is relating to machine learning, and go to the very bottom level of machine learning. uh, take advanced statistics class, take linear algebra class, take a critical thinking class, and these classes will mix up and actually will make your data science career much more effective. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
for example, if you want to explain something to a business person, then you know it better than somebody who just knows coding. Because you can't just go and use these terms like, okay, this is random forest and I generated this and that. Nobody will understand, and nobody cares what models or what algorithms you use. Everybody cares about why did you do it and how did you do it. That should be in a more generic terms. For example, if you're doing, let us say, neural networks, and if you're doing like an auto encoders, then you can't say I took so many nodes and I decrypted, encrypted. They don't care. Just say that, okay, there were so many features, and then we reduce the feature because we can use smaller computers, smaller CPU and GPU, and then using the reduced features, we are getting the results. So don't use the high terms for business people, or to pitch something for a client. Use a term which is more connected to them. To get all these things, you have to know the basics. So start studying basics as much as possible. I would say statistics will be a great place to start if you want to know, will the data science be something for you.
Got
If
it.
that's your question, then take up some statistics and critical thinking courses, and you'll get your answer.
Got it. Got it. So first, be curious. See, really
Absolutely.
if data science is the thing you want to get into, right? And
Hmm.
if if you've done some projects, you found that curiosity and you want to go
Yeah.
deeper, start with the basics, right?
Yes.
Start building the foundation. Don't
Yeah.
go head first and just going to learn, deep learning or something when you don't even have the very basics down, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Because
when
people tend to think that whenever data science comes up, then they just, if they want to get in, they just go and start studying Python,
yeah.
which is like step 3 or step 4. They're actually jumping 3 steps, which is like statistics, critical thinking, and analytics. These things, like,
Mhm.
they can't skip those steps, because when they start doing coding in Python, if the data should make sense, then they have to know the basics.
Mhm.
So it becomes important to learn statistics a little bit for data science. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And then lastly, I think you were harping on, how do you be a good communicator, right?
Mhm.
At the end of the day, like
Yeah.
you need to speak the way that the business stakeholders
Mhm.
understand it, or even I think one of the key pieces is like data storytelling, right? Like
Yeah. Yeah.
whatever you're working on, how can you, get this or get this, you can explain it to a grandma.
Yeah.
Like, how
Exactly.
can you do that? But
Yeah.
like I think all those things are like it starts with I like how you started it, curiosity.
Mhm.
Because like to build any skill and any learning, it takes time. And
Mhm.
like if you don't have the curiosity, you won't put in the time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I remember the time when I was working on a project, and there was a part where I used to do feature engineering, and I have to explain it to a guy who doesn't know anything about data. He's from agriculture department, and the way our team explained is, for example, you have like 100 people, and then you take a mass voting, and then whoever gets the most votes, we are going to choose them as a representative. Same way we did for feature engineering. We had like 100 columns and we want to know what is the most important one. So we ran some code and algorithms and we got to know which are more important. It's like voting. So those are the terms which you want to use when you're explaining to a business person. Yeah.
Got it. Got it. Well, yeah, no, I just want to say thank you for coming on today for the podcast. It's really good to have you.
Thank you so much, Hubert. This is my like second talk and my first podcast. I might have made some mistakes, I don't know, but this is great. I mean, I loved the last 48 minutes.
Yeah,
Thank you.
no, like hope we stay connected and maybe have you on for on a future one. So
Thank you so much, Hubert. This is a great opportunity. Thank you.
okay, all right, take care. Have a good one.
Bye bye. Bye bye.